Not in your actions, he's starting where? In the mind, because we were talking about what? Pulling down strongholds and all these different things that where? In the mind. Because as the mind is thinking, the body is what? Becoming. So I have to go to the root of what is going to affect this body. That's why what? I need you to prosper just as your what? Your soul is prosper. Welcome again to another Bible study. We have been dealing with soul care, and this is technically part 3, even though we had a little review last week on our Zoom that kind of opened some things up. But this is our part 3 of our soul care series that we continually are growing and becoming better in. We're learning some areas that we can all grow and become better in, right? Mm-hmm. Yes? Yes. I hope so. So, this message tonight it's a rough one. So I want us to, when I say rough, I mean it's touching on a lot of different points that we can all find ourselves in, right? And we're all, I'm not standing before you going through this and not being challenged myself, right? That we have to understand that this is about all of us needing what? The soul care, right? Mm-hmm. It's not I have all the answers, you're sitting and you're listening to me, and this is not working on myself, okay? So just know that the Lord has shifted us in this season to make sure that what our desire this year was about being what? Aligned with Him in His purpose and His will for our lives. And so before we can go into all these other things, if we're not aligned, it's not going to help us, right? And so He shifted us into this dealing with our soul. And so we'll probably spend this session of teaching in probably 2 chapters per se. And we're going to start in the 3rd epistle of John. So that's Revelation, Jude, 3rd John. If you want to start from the back to get there, it's only 1 chapter. And when we get there, what we're dealing with in our soul care, this verse came to me. I was having a conversation with someone, and they were saying something. We were discussing something. This just kind of hit me. This scripture came, and I was like, "Well, I didn't think of this scripture from the beginning." And it's going to put us in perspective and align us and move us to something we started to open up last week and get into what we need to, but it's going to bring out some points. And we're only doing verse 2. So if you're in 3rd John, it's only 1 chapter, but starting at verse 2, are we there?
Yes.
Okay, it says, "Beloved, I wish above what? All things that you may what? Prosper and be in what? Be in health, even as what? Even as thy soul what? Prospers." So think of what he's saying. The writer here is saying, "Beloved, I wish what? Above what? All things," right? Are we seeing that? It's saying what? Above what? All things, that you may what? Prosper and be what? In health. So there's a distinction being made with prospering and what? Being in what? In health. But then it says what? Even as what? Your soul prospers. So what is being conveyed here is that how you're prospering and you're in health is based on how your soul is prospering. So if your soul is mismanaged, you can't be in a prosperous or healthy situation. So your health is determined in your prosperity on what? How you manage your what? Your soul. Because if your soul is not aligned, you then begin to what? Mismanage relationships. Because you're being what? Emotional. You begin to not discern correctly because your soul is all over the place. So he's saying in order for your soul to be prosperous, because the writer is saying even as your soul prospereth, he's already saying you're going to be in good health and you're going to be prosperous because your soul is. So the flip side of it is what? If my soul is not prosperous, if it's unhealthy, then I can't be what? Prosperous and be what? In good health. And the prosperity in which it's talking about is not just financial, right? Because we know a lot of people that we've heard the stories that have all this money and their soul is not right and they end up committing what? Suicide, right? Because their soul is not healthy. We know people that their health wanes because what? Their soul is not right, right? They have all this resentment, this anger. So it what? It manifests itself in the what? The physical. So think of the insight that this writer is giving us by saying that above all things, I want you to prosper, be in health, but I want it to be eat as your what? Your soul is prospering. So this verse jumped out at me so much that it's aligning me in a way that says I need to check my soul. Mm-hmm. If there are unhealthy things that are going on in my life, I need to what? Check my soul. Because this is telling me as long as my soul is prospering and I'm keeping it in good health, I'm aligning it, what's supposed to attach to it is what? Health and prosperity. Because I'll be wiser, I'll see things better, so I'll make better decisions, whether that's in my journey of networking or just my own what? Personal health. Right? Sometimes what? Those that could have bad health, they could be emotional eaters, right? Because they're what? Their soul is not prospering. And they haven't learned how to what? Process whatever they're going through so that what? The body responds that I'll find what? Comfort in what I eat. Right? So the soul, remember, whatever controls the soul, the body will respond to. Does that make sense?
So that's when people have, say for instance, I can't stand that person, I see that person pass by and you just get this anger and your pressure go up and
right.
Your heart palpitation.
Right. You have just as you said, right? You see somebody, you have this resentment, blood pressure is high. It's affecting what? Your health. Because your soul is what? Holding that resentment and that anger inside. Right? This is why we say what? Forgiveness is for you. It's not for because it's eating at what? Your soul. They going on living, doing what they doing, right?
And I'm sitting up here face all twisted because you happy walking past me smiling. I'm sitting up here just mad.
Right. And so it's what? It's affecting what? Your soul. Which then you go to the doctor and they say what? Your blood pressure is up. Or this is going on, right? Or the Lord brings you to this person, what? You want me to do business with them? So what? Now I can't be what? Prosperous. All these different things work to what? Together in here. And so when we look at when a soul is unhealthy, it means that emotions will distort their discernment. So when your soul is unhealthy, you're led by your emotions, which distorts your discernment, your ability to see things clearly of what the true intentions of what things are going on. Does that make sense? Because you're being led by your emotions. Trauma then interprets timing as rejection. So if you haven't dealt with certain traumas, then you will interpret it as what? Rejection. Pride will interpret delay as injustice. because it hasn't happened yet. So you feel what? Unjust, that why haven't I been vindicated in this situation? Why haven't I seen victory in this situation? So you're looking at what? This delay or this fear can be, sometimes fear, when it's impacting your soul, will interpret God trying to mature you or stretch you as something dangerous, right? Because I'm going into this unknown place that you're trying to grow in. And so when you're moved by emotions, right? And this is why when we started this understanding the principle and the purpose of God, the first thing he told us we needed to do is what? Not be emotional when we what? Come to him. Right? We needed to understand that he's not a what? A God of just what? Emotions. It's what? Principles and purpose. And if we understand that, then we can understand what we're going through. Just like we said, there is purpose in what? Pain. It pleased God to what? To bruise his son. He sent him to what? To die for our sins. So that trauma could look like what? Rejection. He was wounded for your transgressions, and he's gone through all this for you. But if you're looking at it from an emotional standpoint of, I received some of that trauma from my parents, and this, it can look like what? Rejection, but it was God who said, it pleased me to bruise him. What Job went through, right? Who started that? God said to say, have you considered Job? So who's behind it? God is behind it. But in the wrong perception and being emotional, you will discern this as what? He's rejected you. Why would he put him through this? What is he trying to gain out of this? Does this make sense? Yes. This is why it is so important that what? Your soul be aligned and be healthy. Because it will stabilize your perception.
You said it pleased him to bruise him, right?
Yes.
I'm thinking as a mother. Mm-hmm. Why am I being pleased beating my son or seeing this happen? Can you?
So why did Christ come and die for us? Right? Mm-hmm. And so there was a punishment that had to take place, correct? Correct. So when he's saying that it pleased him, it didn't please him from the sense of an abusive parent trying to abuse their child. There was a punishment that had to take place, and Christ said, I'll take it for you. Okay. So it pleased the Father to say, he stepped up and said, I will be sent, and I'll take their place.
I'm putting my emotions in it.
Correct.
Okay.
So when you say, that's what I'm saying, when it says it pleased him, it wasn't that he sat back and said, yeah, I'm an abusive father. This is the way we're going to fix this. The son said, send me, and I'll stand in their place. I'll take it for them, that they might be saved and we might be one as we are one. So it pleased him that he stepped up to do this. You see how that from a healthy place, you understand what is happening versus emotionally saying, who would want to beat their son? Right? Mm-hmm. Your son jumping in the way of something to stop it from hurting you. It would please me to say, you tried to save your mom? You jumped in the way? It wasn't, I'm pleased that you got hurt. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. So we want to go to Romans 12:2. So when we're going to look at stabilizing a prosperous soul, our mind and our will and our emotions, we're talking about what? Getting it aligned, we're anchoring it, and we're maturing it. Okay? Okay, we're following? Amen. We're anchoring it, we're aligning it, and we're maturing it. So Romans 12:2 tells us some things that I thought was interesting, and we started this. We kind of opened this up last week, but I saw something today as I was reading and meditating over this. And so let's read Romans 12:2. It says what? And be not what? Conformed to this world, but be ye what?
Transformed.
Be transformed by the what?
Renewing of your mind.
The renewing of the mind, which is speaking to what? Your soul. The renewing of the mind, that you may be what? That ye may prove what is what?
Good.
What is good, what is what?
Acceptable.
Acceptable, and what is what?
Perfect.
The perfect will of God. So what we see here is that it says, and be not what? Conformed to this world. You're not taking on what? The patterns and the thought process of what? This world. But he's saying, be ye what? Transformed by the what? The renewing of the mind. Not in your actions, not in, he's starting where? In the mind, because we were talking about what? Pulling down strongholds and all these different things that where? In the mind. Because as the mind is thinking, the body is what? Becoming. So I have to go to the root of what is going to affect this body. That's why what? I need you to prosper just as your what? Your soul is prospering, because it's going to affect everything. So if I negatively approach it or unhealthily approach it, it's going to then what? Affect my perception and my alignment. And so if my soul is wounded and unhealthy, then how can it prove the will of God accurately? Because it says that I'm being transformed by the renewing of the mind, that I may prove what is good, acceptable, and what? Perfect. Are we reading that?
Mm-hmm.
And in that understanding what that is, what do you see when it says that you may prove what is good, acceptable, and the perfect will of God? What do you see?
You may understand.
That you may understand? Okay.
Prove.
Test and prove what God will is.
Test and prove what God will is. Okay.
Is goodness true?
Anyone else?
I don't have any words, but the word prove stands out.
Okay. The word prove, and we'll get into that, the testing, where the testimony comes from. But notice that it says good, acceptable, and perfect, which you could kind of say are all kind of similar or saying the same thing. But really what you're seeing is three dimensions in which to prove the will of God. Because it says the what? The good, what is acceptable, and what is perfect, matured will of God. So it's giving us insight to when we're being transformed, the dimensions are the journey in which you're going to grow to prove the will of God. Look at that. I want you to see it, because you have to ask yourself questions. I always tell you guys when you're reading, don't take common verses and just take it for granted that I know it. Look at it with fresh eyes. And I'm reading it, and all of a sudden it's just like I'm reading what is that is good, acceptable, and perfect. Well, I'm like, this sounds like you saying the same thing. They can all be related, but there is a progression that's happening.
Yeah.
From good to what's acceptable to then what is perfect. So that's telling me that there's what? That's insight to how I'm supposed to be renewing my mind and I should find myself. Am I only looking at what is the good in the will of God? Am I only understanding what is acceptable in the will of God? Or have I gotten to the place of the perfect will of God where I understand the fullness of why this is the will that you have for me? This is how we grow and we mature that our soul may what? Prosper. So we have to understand when we're talking about discerning these things, we're not doing it off of impulse and emotion, but this is happening through our transformation. That is why this focus on soul care is just becoming more and more clear as I study every week on this. As he's ministering to me and saying, we're trying to move from just good and acceptable. I'm trying to get you into the perfect will. And he's saying you have to make sure that when it says to prove what this is, that you're not trying to prove or test what the will of God is through your emotions, through your ambitions, through your hurt, or even comparisons. You have to make sure that you're discerning these different dimensions or stages of the journey correctly. Because a lot of times believers just stop at what is the good. But they never learn to understand what is acceptable. And a lot of us don't even mature into what is the perfect will. Right? Because perfect is not talking about flawless. It is talking about a maturity level that you can understand the totality and discern the actual intent of why this is.
Can you give an example of what might be the difference between good and acceptable in the believer's discerning?
Oh yeah, we're gonna hit all those. So I'm trying to just set the foundation for this because I don't want to rush it. Of these three parts. That's why I'm saying we'll kind of be here within these verses. But this is why I'm going from 3 John, right? Where it's saying our soul being prosperous to the renewing of the mind because they're inseparable. Because it is what is the mechanics for your soul to be prospering, for you to be in good health, and for you to be prosperous in your journey. Now we're going into how do those mechanics work. And so we're identifying what? Am I looking at it from a unhealthy, soulish place? And if I am, how do I realign that? Am I in the place of, I understand the good will of God, but maybe I need to grow in the acceptable. I understand the acceptable, but maybe I need to grow into the what? The perfect will of God. And we'll see biblically how those things line up, okay? But remember, it says what? Be not conformed into this world. Mm-hmm. It says what? We don't want to mold how we think based on what? What the world says. Because this is what you're battling of who's trying to influence your soul. Mm-hmm. So we would say what? Culture, whatever the news or whatever is putting out, everything is fighting for control of your soul, right? How you think, your emotions, your will, your understanding. All of that is your soul is the filter for all of that. It's not fighting for your spirit, it's fighting for your what? Your soul. So your soul has to filter all of these things. So if it has not been renewed, it's like you have what? A dirty filter. And I need to clean what? The filter. I need to renew it. So now it can what? I can tell what is junk and what is not junk. So this is what he's saying. I need you not to conform or mold yourself after this world or the age that we're in. But be you what? Transformed. And that's talking about what? The inner work. Because you're transformed from the what? The inside out. This is where they get the metamorphosis in the Greek, or the whole thing what butterflies do, right?
Mhm.
This is where they get that. It's an inward what? Change. And once you do that, then you can start what? Learning how to prove what that is. And you're proving it genuinely. Because God's will doesn't change, it's just our discernment does. His will is his will. I always say, Stacey always says, his will be done. Right? That's one of her favorite sayings. No matter what, hey, his will going to be done, whether he uses me or does, his will going to be done. Right? So his will doesn't change, but it is what? How we discern his will. That's where we get what? The insight to be able to be, Father, let me be a part of this work. Well, you need to discern, that way you know the what? The timing. What's coming? Why it's coming? Why have you put me in this path? Right? It's not an emotional thing. It's something that what? It's purposeful. But the world, if I conform to it, would make it seem like what? He's not for you. Why are you going through this? You should have been here by now. You should have done these different things. But if I'm trusting in him, then I have to know that what? His thoughts towards me are what? Good and not what? Not evil. And that he has what? An expected end for me. Right? So if he's already has these thoughts, I know he's pinned them down in his book. And he has an expected end for me, then I should be trying to discern what he's written about me. Right?
Right.
Not what everybody else is saying or trying to discern about me. What is God saying about me? Right? So when I'm cleaning my filter out, I have to go back to, what are you saying about me? Because I understand what the world is saying. I understand what these obstacles in front of me are trying to tell me. But God, what are you saying about me? That's how I begin to what? Clearing the filter out. That I can be able to see clearly. So I'm not being emotional in how I'm discerning and possibly putting myself out of alignment. Right? Because I want it so bad. I'm using my ambitions for what I want to do for him. And we're going to go through how that works, because we see where something may seem and feel good to you, but to God, that's not really the will that I have. So without renewing your mind, you put yourself in a position where you may misjudge what is God. So without the proper renewing of the mind, you can misjudge what is of God. Renewing of the mind is what actually precedes an accurate discernment. So if your mind is not renewed first, that's what I'm saying, it can misalign your what? Your discernment. So it's always about what? Purifying the mind, making sure the soul is always being taken care of. Remember when we talk about David in a lot of the Psalms, you read, bless the Lord, oh my soul looks back and what? Wonders how. All these different things is what? Realigning your soul so you know exactly what you're judging. He says, my soul panteth for you like a deer by the water. Not my spirit, my what? My soul. He leadeth my soul So it's what? Your soul. I know it may sound redundant, but I have to get this in you that you understand the power and the nature of who's controlling your soul. So you can rightly discern properly what is of God. That everything that sounds good may not be God. But if I'm moved by the emotions and the theatrics of things, I can be what? Pulled in. So let's look at the acceptable. And we'll set this up. I'm sorry, not the acceptable, the good. I'm sorry. Let's start there. So we said we were showing that each part is what? A dimension. The good, the acceptable, and what? The perfect will of God. So when we're talking about the good, we're talking about this nature, this upright, or something that is beneficial. So something that is upright or beneficial or a moral quality of God's will. So at this level, the renewing of the mind discerns that this good is according to God's nature. It's the baseline level of our discernment. It's like looking at the character of God. He called this good, right? And so in Micah chapter 6, verse 8. That's right after Jonah. There. Are we getting there? We're just looking at verse 8 because we're trying to define something. And it says, chapter 6, verse 8 of Micah, it says, He has shown thee, O man, what is what?
Good.
What is good. And what does the Lord require of thee? But to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God. So God is defining what character, because good is what? Just, it's merciful, and it's humble. It's a reflection of what? God's nature. Do we see that? He showed them, oh man, what is good? Because God requires thee to do what? Justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. So he's defining what is good. Which we can say that is what? That's his nature.
Yes.
Are we following? If not, ask questions or let me know. Because we're trying to define something. So when we put it all together, when you read Romans 12:2, you'll be able to find yourself and understand those different aspects. So we're looking at a moral good, but something can appear good and still not be God's highest intentions. And we saw this in 1 Samuel 15. So we have in Micah where we're defining what good is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see how it can be discerned wrong in our emotions. So 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter. And we're picking this up. This is about Saul, King Saul. And God gave him instructions through the prophet Samuel to, in this battle, to kill everything. All the Amaleks and all their cattle, everything. Man, woman, child, right? Destroy everything. Right? Are we familiar with this?
No.
So the prophet came in, and you know how they would have wars in the Old Testament. And so the prophet is the seer. He's saying these are the instructions the Lord is saying to do in order to win this battle, or this is what is required. Saul being the king of Israel, they go in and they win this battle. But they were supposed to destroy everything. But Saul said, look at all this good cattle and stuff. You know, we shouldn't destroy all of this. We should take some for ourselves, and then we can offer it to God. Because remember, these sacrifices, all these things meant something. So it would seem like a good gesture. Why would God want to just destroy some good cattle that we can offer to him as a sacrifice, and it would be beneficial to our kingdom or our community? Okay? So this is what's happened. So now we're picking that up. In verse 21, it says what? But the people took the what? The spoils. Are we following?
Mm-hmm.
The people took the spoil, the sheep, the oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly what?
Destroyed.
To what? To sacrifice them unto who?
The Lord.
By God. And where?
Gilgal.
So they're sitting here, they got all these spoils and everything, right? It's like you won this battle. Yes, God, you have delivered us. You really want us to destroy everything? We can't keep a little bit like for us and then give you your portion and we all be happy? Because I don't see, or I'm not discerning why you want to destroy everything. Obviously, we can sacrifice this stuff to you as a sign of worship and thanksgiving. You know, make ourselves look good before God. And he says they were supposed to utterly destroy it, but they said, we'll sacrifice it unto the Lord our God.